And with me also, I have to my immediate right, Dr. Jensen Stuart Morton, who, can you introduce yourself? He's the Director of Health Institutions at JNF.
Yes, good evening. I am excuse me. Good evening. I am Dr. Jensen Morton, and I am the Director of Health Institutions for Josephine France General Hospital, which is the location of the JNF Pathology Lab.
With the guests, we bring you the latest local and news about medical news in St. Kitts. So we'll open the floor with Ms. Hanley. So can you explain to the
complex place? It contains many disciplines, including hematology, the study of blood, clinical chemistry, study of the chemicals in the blood. There's special chemistry, such as your hormones and thyroids, etc. There is histology, the study of the tissues. There's cytology, study of the cells. There's blood banking and immunohematology, which is cross-matching of blood for persons who need it. There's serology, the study of, for example, the last 20 years or so. So that's something that women should be getting quite excited about. Yes.
So we have a HPV vaccine and stuff here as well?
Yes, there is an HPV vaccine.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We've actually introduced the HPV vaccine in schools, especially in grade 6.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and elaborate on these very exciting topics for you guys. Thank you.
You've come to the right place. We have just what you need. And even if we're out of stock of the item, as soon as it comes in, we will notify you.
Thank you.
Bestway Pharmacy, always taking care of all your pharmaceutical needs.
And welcome back. Thank you again for joining us. Welcome for who were here before, and welcome for anyone that's joining for the first time, and welcome back to who was here before. That's what I meant to say. Thanks. So we were elaborating on the different functions and the different testings that the labs perform, and so I will let you elaborate some more. We were speaking about the CPR testing, and you were mentioning that most testing right now is using that method. Is there a reason why?
It is almost
Accuracy.
foolproof.
Accuracy.
It is accurate.
I guess because of the region where it's being swabbed, there's a lot more colonization where the swabbing is being done, so you get more samples. That's it?
Well, actually, different kits do allow different samples from different sites. For COVID, for example, sampling can be taken from way back in the nasal passages, and for some kits they allow
Accurate as well.
Yeah.
And of course, the forensic lab as well, and that one would be
yes,
for
the police.
crime scene. Yes, it's more so controlled by national security.
So we don't do any forensics at all at public health facilities, obviously.
Well, no. In terms of JNF doesn't do that, but we do have a forensics lab. It's in Tabernacle. So that's where those things are done. So we have all of those different types of labs here in St. Kitts. It's just that everyone knows their specific purpose.
I wanted to add that if persons are interested in paternity testing, that most of the private labs, we do paternity testing. we don't do them, we don't test on site, but we certainly send them off to a reputable lab and get back results.
Okay. That's interesting. So is it that we don't have the medical technology to do the processing here?
I think the volumes would play a part. The testing has to be economically viable, and I imagine that we don't have the volumes coming forward for those tests for us to make it a viable industry.
I'm very surprised at that, the amount of issues. I'm surprised, but
No,
okay.
the machinery, the reagents, all those things, they're quite expensive.
Very expensive, yes.
So that's, if you're ever wondering why people would risk the embarrassment of going on Maury, it's because it's free. And if they had to pay for it, it's so
They
much
probably
money, they
wouldn't,
might as well just go on the television show and risk it.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
You mentioned Lab Week.
Yes, of course. You're definitely at liberty to expound and explain what Lab Week is all about and why it came about and what does it entail.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. This session tonight actually started off as part of a Laboratory Professionals Week celebration, which was actually last week. Mm-hmm. And the plan was to have a variety of labs here speaking on the topics. We were unable to have everyone because of technical issues. But every lab week, each of the labs tries to celebrate in some manner. I know Jay and I had done a church service, and this is part of...
We had a church service?
yes, last week Sunday.
Jay and I invited the other labs to attend. And there were other activities like free testing days, free HIV, glucose, etc.
So even the private and the public sector labs collaborated and came together?
There wasn't that much collaboration,
not really collaboration, but
the intention is there.
Okay.
And perhaps next year or the year after. We have collaborated with Ross University in the past. We have a representative from Ross who will come on later. And we've had very successful ventures
Awesome.
in that regard.
So it's a lab association with a president and all of this, like an executive?
All right. So Lab Week is set in United States. Out of American Medical Technologists is one of the umbrella organizations in the United States. Our local organization, which is, when I say local, I mean regional, is CASMED, Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists.
Okay.
And there are territories and branches throughout the Caribbean, from as far north as Bermuda down to Suriname. And out of the international collaboration, the various countries, have begun celebrating in various ways. So this is one of the ways. Other ways include continuing education, where we sponsor a topic, and we invite the public to come in and talk, come in and listen to a talk. There are a variety of activities that could be done.
Awesome.
And I promise next year we'll be high on the agenda.
Even bigger and better. And I promise that from the administrative standpoint, we'll be supporting whatever it is the initiatives put forth from the JNF side of things to be done. And once the collaboration is happening, then it makes everything even easier.
We're going to put a thumbnail. We're going to take a quick commercial break again. And we're going to come back and elaborate, because I'm very interested. I have some more questions.
Sure.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see, and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
And we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we stand. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind, because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You'll expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city.
Welcome back again. We're going to continue with our discussion. Our topic for this week is laboratory for professionals. Who are we and what do we do? So my co-host here, Ms. Hanley, was helping me to elaborate on the different aspects of the lab. So,
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the staff who work in the lab. It's not just one broad person, one broad level. We have from phlebotomists, who can be anybody, doctors, doctors, nurses, medical technologists.
you should probably elaborate on what a phlebotomist is.
A phlebotomist is a person who's trained to draw blood and to collect other specimens from various parts of the body. The major function is drawing blood because that's where we do most of our tests from.
It's also the most invasive one, so.
We have, there's a category called laboratory technicians, which we don't have many of in St. Kitts. That person,
Really?
That specific category. But she'll explain. Miss Hanley will explain.
The laboratory technician is usually a two-level training, two-year training person that just assists really the medical technologist who comes out with a 4-year degree as a starting point. Many persons are going on to masters and even PhDs now in the laboratory.
Yes, and I should note that Ms. Hanley was correcting me earlier because it's commonplace for people to call most, if not everyone, that you see working in a lab as a lab tech. But lab tech is short for laboratory technician. That's the shorter degree. The people that are the professionals that are working in the lab, they are medical technologists, and those are the ones that would do the complete 4-year degree. So it's to put respect on the name of the medical technologists.
And they are the ones responsible for the testing.
Yes.
For the testing, for the quality assurance, for the quality control, for giving out the results in a timely and professional manner. We also, as technologists, also advise. So persons, medical students, medical doctors, other persons may ask, well, okay, we notice that this value is such and such. What does this mean in the long term? Or, we are also trained to advise.
Do you guys keep records and like do statistical analysis and that sort of thing?
Well,
do you keep record?
Yes. You have to keep records for a number of years. Oh yes.
The statute of limitations, it varies. For some places, they would dictate that you have to keep records for 9 years, but sometimes it could be down to 6, sometimes it could be up to more than that. It depends on the situation, on the type of test, and on the territory.
Okay. Interesting.
So also you have some persons who specialize, like cytotechnology. My specialty is cytotechnology, and that's the study of cells. Cytology is the study of cells. So I and my colleagues can examine cells for any part of the body. We're looking for pathologies, inflammations, cancers.
That's for the record. That's when you put the cells on the slide and you mount it and the whole nine, and you
classic one that you see on TV
under the microscope type of thing.
That is one method. There's a newer method.
Okay.
Called liquid cytology.
Oh, I'm all ears. What's this one?
It's even more accurate.
So we use a little vial. There are several companies that produce these use a little vial that has a preservative inside of it. And for example, for the cervix, you take a specimen with a brush, a cyto brush, and you immerse it into the fluid, into the fixative. Then the lab prepares a slide.
Oh, because then you would have more specimen to work with that way.
Exactly.
And you get more of the tissue rather than just the individual cells, so you can see a little bit more.
You can make multiple slides. You can,
I think that would probably be a really viable tool for cervical cancer, especially like
to
early
be honest,
detection
how we do it is that since the traditional way is less expensive, we in the public health system we would use the traditional way, but it tends to be sensitive without being specific, so sometimes it could
false positives and stuff.
Well, you could say that it leans towards if it's going to give an error, the error will be in the positive, and then you would have to retest. And if it's retested, that's when we would tell them go to a private laboratory to get that other test because its specificity is much more specific. And if it needs any further testing, then it's determined from that going on.
Okay, I got
So everything has its purpose.
I got you.
And the cousin to the cytotechnologist is a histotechnologist, and he or she
I'm trying to follow.
performs testing on blocks of tissues.
Okay.
So coming out of autopsy or surgery, specimens are sent to the lab in formaldehyde in most instances, and they are fixed, and there's an instrument in which they are processed. The blocks, they're made into blocks with paraffin, and then there's another instrument called a microtome where the tissues are cut in micromillimeters. Those are stained, and the pathologist, that's another person who works in the lab.
So that's what I was here thinking. The histologist and the pathologist sound like very almost similar.
The histotechnologist is a technologist. The pathologist is a doctor.
Okay, yes.
Keep in mind, anybody can do PhDs now in several areas, but the pathologist is a doctor. There's forensic pathologists and there's clinical pathologists.
Yes.
So the pathologist would look at these tissues and give a diagnosis. But they work, as Dr. Morton said, they work together closely to get the result
that's
put
needed.
out. And by the way, the laboratory is responsible for 70 to 80% of medical decisions.
Really?
It is.
Yes, as a matter of fact, even in the medical part, because the pathologist works in the lab, so I can mention it, in the medical part, the only physician that we say is always 100% correct is the pathologist. It's just that depending on the tissue that they're working on, sometimes it could be too late. But if you think of it that way, but they're always 100% correct.
Because, you know, it's efficacy based, so you have to have proof of what you're saying.
The other one
we're gonna
diagnose.
We're going to put a thumbnail on that and take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll elaborate a lot more on the topic.
At Bestoway Medical, we are dedicated to meeting all your medical needs. Our friendly staff is always available and ready to assist. Our trusted physician is also equipped with the knowledge and expertise to best serve you. Make Bestoway Medical your medical center of choice.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing,
But hope is remaining.
and we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate,
Welcome back to our listeners in TV and Internet Lab. Our topic for this evening is laboratory professionals. Who are we and what do we do? We were in a deep discussion just now. My dear host revealed to me that the lab is responsible for 70 to 80% of diagnostics. That's very interesting to me. So we'll pick up where we left off, and I will allow you to elaborate on that.
Well, when a patient goes to a doctor, Dr. Morton, for confirming, for having evidence, and you know, it's a buzzword, evidence-based medicine and so on. You need
That's
to
true.
have a laboratory test result. When we had COVID, we couldn't guess and say, we think it's COVID. You have to have the proof.
You have to have the...
If you're sending a specimen for culture and sensitivity, and I neglected to talk about microbiology, medical microbiology earlier, that's where we grow the bacteria actually, and we culture them against certain antibiotics. We then give the result indicating to the doctor which antibiotics are sensitive and which are not. And some are intermediate.
Okay.
So that's a guide, that's evidence.
That's nice, I like that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. You should go look at a culture plate and have a look. It's quite interesting.
They probably probably want to get rid of me because I get so curious.
Yeah, so with the diagnostics, like I said, the bulk of it actually comes from the lab. Some of it, depending on the ailment, it would be diagnosed using something like a radiological procedure, like CT scan, ultrasound, depending on what it is. And only a small fraction of things, you diagnose it like clinically. Very small fraction, but because clinical diagnoses, it's difficult to hold it up in court unless you have like some vital sign or something to back it up.
Agreed.
That's why people would say, you know what, to be
Stick to the lab.
sure, get the lab. So if somebody comes and they're having symptomatology of anemia and they're looking pale, we can always say, I think this person has anemia and treat accordingly, but you still have to send it off to get your CBC for the lab to confirm, and with that confirmation the lab could tell you everything about the type of anemia and stuff to guide your treatment, because anemia isn't even a diagnosis, it's a symptom. So you have to be a little bit more specific with what's causing it. So the lab plays the key role to assist with the diagnostics of nearly all sorts. Just a little the radiological stuff is the other part.
Okay, that's interesting. So I see another lab, what was the word we're calling them? Medical technologists. So a blood bank specialist is also a medical technologist.
Yes,
and
trained in immunohematology, which is blood banking.
Immunohematology.
Yes. You've got to, when a patient needs blood, you've got to cross-match the patient's blood against the donor's blood. Of course, you do the blood grouping first. And you've got to cross-match to make sure that it is compatible. It's a very serious thing.
Of course.
Blood can kill.
Of course.
It's like an organ transfusion.
Of course.
So it is not to be taken lightly. And so, those blood bank specialists. In very large hospitals, you have physicians who specialize in that.
Of course.
We as technologists do what we can, and we can do what's necessary here in the area.
Okay.
Getting blood donors is always a bit of a hairy situation.
It's actually been improved quite a bit.
I understand.
We found our mechanism to do it. We have a team of persons. You would see some of them on the screen now. We have a team of persons now that actually work full-time in the blood bank, and especially if we get those very valuable O-negative donors, we have them registered, and you have to keep up a good relationship with them to encourage them on a regular basis to come in and donate, and not just wait for crises, to just come in. And apart from that, we have listings of the other blood types as well to just gently encourage persons, if you're interested in regularly donating blood, even if it's just once a year, it can have a strong impact. And from starting to do that, the acute shortages of blood products, it's drastically gone down. The other thing is, when persons have been coming to the hospital for non-emergent procedures, we've been really trying to get the word out to say if it's not an emergency, work with a donor so that whatever we give is replaced, so that the actual donation stuff, it actually goes towards somebody that randomly got into a car accident and needs like 2-3 liters, or 2-3 units, excuse me, not liters, 2-3 units
of blood.
urgently. Of course, the biggest cause of blood loss would be something like a C-section or something like that, and they need blood like that. So when you have those kinds of donors, it really helps.
So quick question, does our blood bank here, do we have any of the artificial blood products like overseas? Like, do we have those?
we have some blood products, some artificial blood products available, but I can't really call them blood products. It's more products to increase your overall blood volume, not so much the. I know what you're thinking about, the higher stuff. No, still we use the tried and proven packed red cells, the tried and proven platelets, the tried and proven other products that we can get from whole blood.
We're not trying to get too ahead of ourselves, I guess.
To be honest, those things, even though they're expensive, they have their use. I would say that the Jehovah's Witness community, it really forced the technology to be developed such that we have alternatives to that.
Yes, yes.
But they are available. Internationally, they are available. we are working on trying to improve our availability of those.
Gotcha. So we're going to also elaborate on some of the major departments of the clinical laboratory. I'm going to have Ms. Hanley elaborate on that for us. We have the research department. We already discussed the phlebotomy. Sorry.
No, I was just saying for the research department, we actually don't have an active research department right now, currently. We don't have a dedicated active one, but I know Ross University, even though it's veterinary medicine, they do have an active research department. And if you also want to see a research lab, a dedicated focused research lab, that would be the Biomedical Institute in Lower Boreal. That's a dedicated lab for research. So it's a department that you could have in a larger lab, or it could even be a lab as a standalone.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So then we also have we just discussed the hematology department.
Well, we talked about immunohematology, which is a blood bank. Hematology deals with, as I said earlier, blood products, not blood products, with blood types, and red blood cells and white blood cells and hemoglobins, etc. Sickle cells, reticulocytes, and so on. The clinical chemistry department does the routine chemical tests. The glucose and cholesterol are the most popular ones.
Gotcha.
Lipid profiles. Special chemistry includes thyroid function tests, all the hormones, the androgens, PSAs for the men, the estrogens, and the
we have to explain to the public why is a PSA for the men, and like explain what's the difference, because I know someone is going to ask me tomorrow.
Why no PSAs for the women?
Yes.
Women don't have a prostate. The PSA is to check your
prostate function.
Prostate-specific antigen. It's an organ that's only in men, and it has cells in there that are constantly, slowly shedding, and as those cells shed, they give off particular proteins that you could pick up in the bloodstream, and you could tell by testing certain characteristics of that, whether something abnormal is going on or whether it's the normal way that it's supposed to be at, essentially.
Gotcha.
But women don't have a prostate, so
okay.
we don't need to check.
So we're going to put a thumbnail on this one again, and we're going to take another short break, and we're going to come back and elaborate.
Yeah, man. Another day in the books. Well, hello there. Ooh, she pretty from head to toe, and are you ready to go? Wait there. Whew. Can't afford to slip up, not even in my dreams. Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city.
Welcome back to our show. Our topic for this evening is laboratory professionals. Who are we and what do we do? This is all in a collaborative effort to bring awareness to the general public as to all of the different functions that our labs and lab techs and medical technologists, all that they bring to the table and how much we depend and appreciate them. They're having their week of activities, so we are having a special episode to commemorate what they do. And I have a special young lady here with me tonight. Her name is Patrice Bernier.
Yes. Hi, good night, listening audience.
Good night. And she is a senior lab tech?
Yes, I am a senior lab technician in the diagnostic lab at Ross University.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You seem so young and fresh. So you're the senior tech, so that means you're the professional and the one that everyone looks to for the answers in the lab?
Well, not the entire lab, but I oversee the areas of hematology, cytology, and blood banking.
Wow, elaborate.
Yes, so I know Ms. Hanley did an awesome job just now elaborating on all the different areas in the lab. On the human side, so on the veterinary side, we have all of the similar areas as well. Not necessarily looking for the same diseases in some cases, but we have hematology, cytology, chemistry, microbiology, parasitology, you name it. Your pets get sick, and
So it's a similar thing. You guys do swabbing for the pets and sputum tests and stuff?
Not necessarily sputum testing, but we do a variety of testing that just gives you, the veterinarians, a general picture if the pet is healthy. Because I guess on the human side, we can at least say, I feel sick today, my head is hurting, my back is hurting. We can say where the pain is coming from, but our pets can't. We might just recognize that they're a little bit lethargic today,
not eating
themselves, not eating. And so then it's left up to the veterinarian and the lab to tell you what is happening, because as we like to say, without the lab, your doctors are just guessing.
Yes.
Just guessing.
I was say without the lab, we're back to 1960.
Yes, where there was a lot of guesswork happening.
With touching.
Gotcha. So as a lab tech, the senior lab tech at that, you have to manage all of those different types of testing?
Yes, so as the senior lab technician in the hematology department specifically, so we would do they would do the blood draws at the phlebotomist in the veterinary clinic at Ross. So we have a veterinary clinic on site with veterinarians that...
Every day?
Yes. Well, it's open from Monday to Friday. So you can call us and make an appointment for us to see your pet. The veterinarian would see your pet if they deem it necessary. And sometimes just for annual blood work, just to check up, they would draw your sample or the pet sample and submit it to the lab. So if, for instance, they were doing it for a CBC, I would be responsible for reviewing that slide. At Ross, we actually look at each and every CBC manually under microscope. In essence, because
a CBC is a full blood, a complete blood count.
Yes. So it's where we, the analyzer, we do an automated part where an analyzer would tell us how many red cells are present, how many white cells, and what types of white cells, how many platelets are present, as well as giving us some other information as hemoglobin and mean cell volume and stuff like that, which can indicate to anemias and different type of things, which your pets do get because of ticks and other internal parasites, such as worms, which can be feeding on the blood of your pet and give them
anemia. Okay, yes, that's interesting. So that sounds like a whole lot that you have to do. So, like, give me an example of your routine day.
So a routine day in the lab always starts with QC, quality control, right? So we get in the lab, we're turning on instruments, we're recording temperatures, we are QCing the various instruments that we use, running quality control samples and so on and so forth. And then when we get samples from the clinics and when they see the patients and they submit them, we would get like CBCs, complete blood counts. 4DX is a big one that we get a lot, and that is a type of ELISA testing or serology where we use a SNAP device to indicate the presence of different hemoparasites such as Ehrlichia and Anaplasma, which can be passed on to your pets by ticks.
Okay.
So, tick prevention is very important in our pets. We see how many diseases these.
We have Lyme disease down here?
In St. Kitts?
Yeah.
No.
Not really. That's one of the states.
Yeah, we shouldn't have it here locally, Lyme disease. But because we have, the immigration and migration of pets, throughout the region, from regions where do have it. So this SNAP test does include testing for Lyme disease.
Gotcha. Because Lyme disease is a very, very, it's a critical thing in humans. Oh, yes. Gotcha. Okay.
So, continue.
Yeah, so 4DX is perhaps even urinalysis. They would collect urine from the dog, whether just catching it avoidedly or doing it by collecting it from a needle, putting it into the bladder of the pet and collecting it by a needle so that we can collect a sterile sample.
I've never heard of that one before. I wonder if we can do that for humans.
Yes, we do. You do a pelvic stamp. Okay. It's the best way to get a nice, sterile, pure sterile sample. So if you think of it, the dirtiest way is to let them void into it. A cleaner way is if you put in a catheter, but the absolute...
Yes, that's what I was thinking, catheter.
But if you want it pure, like it's not passing through any urethra, it's not passing, stamp.
Yes, so you ensure a very sterile sample that way. And we usually request those samples mostly from microbiology samples, which we do for your pets. They can get UTIs and urinary tract infections.
The dog can get a UTI?
Yes, your dog, your cat can get a UTI. Yes, so it's basically whatever ailments you can get, your pets can get. They get cancers as well.
Their own type of cancer. So it's not. So if a dog gets a UTI, it's not a human UTI. So they didn't get it from their owner.
It could be the same organism, but they have their. No, she'll explain. They have their own microbes that choose to infect them.
They do have their own organisms that would be more specific to them, but we do have zoonosis, which is diseases that can be shared between us and our pets.
That's where the bulk of our diseases
originated.
Something more.
I did not think of all, because I'm not really a pet person, so I wasn't thinking that like dogs be getting like UTIs from humans. And
not necessarily from humans, but there are bacteria that the dogs would more get, but not necessarily from a human, but just from, it's a dog.
It's going to be presenting like similar with like fever and loss of appetite and stuff?
It can, I think. I mean, I'm not a veterinarian. Usually I would see them.
Right.
You just look in the, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I was getting...
Yes, no, that's
Gotcha.
okay. Usually they might present with frequent urination or inappropriate urination, like not being able to hold their pee. If you know your dog is accustomed, you know,
So
you
they
leave
get
it
incontinent?
Yes, urinary incontinence.
Need a pamper? So okay, we're gonna put a thumbnail on that. One of our new segments in the show is to look at what's happening at the Joseph and Franz Hospital. So the following segment, we'll take a commercial break and be back with the final segment of tonight's episode of HealthWise. But first, we're gonna have a look at what's happening at JNF.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Jensen Morton, the Director of Health Institutions, and today we're here at JNF in the very back of the hospital to let the general public be aware of our most recent construction project. So behind me, at this northern end of the hospital, you'll see that we've begun digging into the hill that is at the back of JNF Hospital, because here is going to be the location of our state-of-the-art MRI center. So for many years, persons from St. Kitts and Nevis have been crying out, saying that they wished for the government to have control of its own MRI center, such that those tests can be more accessible to the general public in environments that they would prefer to be in. And the government has responded in kind, and we have already begun the process. It's going to be a 270-day construction project, meaning that by the conclusion of this year, the building will be complete, and it's being done in full collaboration with the providers of the machinery, who will install at the end of the year at the same time, such that for 2025, persons in St. Kitts and Nevis will have access to their own MRI machine owned by the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We look forward to giving you this wonderful service, and we continue to try to improve healthcare in St. Kitts and Nevis day by day. Thank you.
Join us on ZIZ TV for Youth Lounge with Sconifer, a talk show on vital topics such as tourism, entrepreneurship, education, religion, sex education, and mental health, featuring experts from St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean region. Tune in live on the first and third Wednesday of every month at 8:30 p.m. on ZIZ TV.
And welcome back to our show. Our topic for this evening's show is laboratory professionals. Who are we and what do we do? Next to me, I have the lovely Miss Patrice Bernier.
Yes.
And she is the senior boss lady, lab tech. At Ross University?
Yes, at Ross University.
And so she came to join us to elaborate basically on all of the major lab functions and maybe not so major functions of the laboratory. So I'll allow you to continue to elaborate and to speak to us about Lab Week and the profession on a whole.
Yes, so, you know, I was giving a rundown of the day-to-day in a lab, and it can be really interesting getting different cases each and every day. Just to the general public, I guess, I do want to advocate for preventative care and medicine in your pets. We live with them, and because of zoonosis, we need to be careful and ensure that we are treating our pets and getting them tested and ensuring that we can cohabit our environment together. In terms of Lab Week, we at Ross have celebrated Lab Week for quite a few years now.
Really?
I think the first instance of us celebrating, I remember, was in either 2018 or 2017, and that initially began as us hosting students from the various schools at the Ross University campus, where we gave them tours tours of the various labs. We have the diagnostic lab, We have a pathology lab where they would do the animal autopsies, and we have an anatomy lab where we would teach the students the anatomy of the dog and the cat, as well as a skeletal system and muscle system there. So we would give them tours of these various areas, as well as our research lab. You know, we have a state-of-the-art research facility at Ross University.
So you guys have an open house expo or anything like that?
They used to have one
Not anymore.
pre-COVID. It has not happened for some time, but even outside of that, the lab has always tried to, you know, bring students in, because essentially our goal is to try to foster the future of medical lab technology, of the allied healthcare field, which does not only include the people in the lab under the allied healthcare umbrella. It also incorporates your ultrasound technicians, your radiologists, and it is such a wide field to get involved in. So I'm just encouraging any young people listening or out there tonight, you know, there is so much that you can do within this field, and we always need medical technologists.
Let me ask you, can I ask you, where did you train? Were you able to train online? Did you train here? Because if we're going to encourage young persons, then we have to show them where the line of,
how to get into it.
How do they, because...
So there are schools within the region. In Jamaica, you have UTEC. I'm not sure what the one in Grenada is called, but there are schools in the region and in Guyana as well that do teach these
the skills.
Yes, these technical degrees are.
So how long does it take to become a lab tech?
So.
A medical technologist. I'm going to be roasted as a medical technologist.
Ms. Hanley went through all of the fields very well in her segment, where she mentioned, you know, the lab tech would be like an associate's, kind of like at CFBC, where we do like an associate's degree.
Also, there's a lab tech associate's.
There is not one here,
We're
but
trying to set up a pharmacy
hopefully.
tech program as the start, and then we're going to go into other areas.
Yes, so hopefully we can get that on board here soon. But then you would do a four-year degree to become the medical technologist.
So you did 4 years already?
No, so at Ross, because we're on the veterinary side,
I know there's DIVRA. Is it that you were able to train online? Or?
Most of my training was in-house training that happened at Ross University.
That's great.
When I started, I just straight out of CFBC with an associate's in natural sciences, and all of this training, all of this knowledge that I have garnered has happened over the last 10 years that I've been at Ross University.
You've been working for 10 years?
And you know, 18.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yes, I have been working for
You've been working for more than 10 years. So I think that's why you're the senior technologist and boss lady of the lab. I'm quite impressed.
Thank you, thank you.
Awesome.
But yes, you know, we want to foster people to move forward into that field, so that even at JNF and at there are so many labs locally that you have a career path that you can see within this field. And at Ross University, like I said, we've always done something for Lab Week to inspire minds around us. So apart from the school tours, we've partnered with the Ministry of Education in the past to do science fairs.
Awesome.
And during COVID, during COVID, even when, you know, we could not gather together, we did a Bling My Lab Coat contest online.
Really?
Yes,
I missed it.
where the students were able to draw on their lab coats and submit videos and pictures to us.
That sounds like fun, something that I would probably indulge in.
It was so fun. And then last year we had an instrument model contest where they had to create lab instruments such as a microscope, incubators, and we were able to have a little in-person gathering to highlight the winners for that. And moving forward, we are looking to have a school science competition where we will be asking the schools to participate as a team, like each school would submit a team, and to make models of laboratories.
I'm liking this. I feel like Ross is being a real backbone for our education system to kind of depend on, because sometimes we need those sort of affiliate activities to kind of, you know, bring the young people into action. I really appreciate those efforts because they sound creative and interesting, and even me as a grown adult, like I would have really liked to be blinging my lab coat. Like I really would.
Yes, the Lab Services team is a very creative group of individuals, and we're very passionate about what we do, and spreading that passion to, you know, the young minds and trying to foster the next generation.
This is so nice.
Yes, maybe we need to collaborate more.
No, I like it because you're telling me you've been working for 10 years, which means you're an expertise at what you're doing, so I can trust everything that you're saying. And you sound like you have a lot of creative ideas.
Yes, we really do try to be creative with it because, you know, as kids, especially when we're trying to get the kids involved, you have to think out the box and incentivize it for them.
We may have to employ you to give us some ideas at JNF. Like we can bring our stethoscope.
I'm open to discussions.
Awesome. It was a pleasure having you. We're going to wrap up this evening's discussion. We're just going to have a quick small recap. So the lab week this is April every year.
Yes.
Last week would have been the week of the 15th.
So it's usually, I think, the last week in April every year. I'm not sure what the shift was this year, but it was shift to the third week this year. So, but at Ross,
so we're not late. We're right on time with this show.
Generally, nationally, they switched it to the third week. So it was last week. But at Ross, we will always celebrate on the last week in April because that's when school is out for us. So it's a little lighter load for us in the lab, so we have more time to indulge in, you know, these contests and everything else that we do because we still have our work on top of everything else.
Awesome. So I really enjoyed the show. I would really like to thank all of my guests, all of the persons who made this happen. Thank you very much for Dr. Morton for being here, Miss Hanley and her supporting guests. And I would like to also thank you, young lady. You're a big inspiration for me. I'm hoping that other young persons could take pattern off of you and try to build a stronger nation, more education, more curiosity, and, you know, just critical thinking. That's what I like, you know. Thank you very much. So for all of those out in TV and internet land, we would like to thank you guys for being with us once again tonight for our episode of HealthWise. Thank you.